I do most of my work outside the office, or rather I interact with Sage's corporate systems, including our own implementation of Sage CRM, while I'm travelling, at home, or when I'm off-site, delivering training or attending a conference. Most of the time I use my laptop, but I do occasionally sit on the sofa and check information in CRM using my tablet. Sage CRM is a product that has an expectation that its users are going to want to access the system from a wide variety of locations, both inside and outside the corporate network, and they'll be accessing it using a range of different devices. That means that when planning an implementation, some thought will need to go into the questions: who can access the system? From where can they access the system? And what can they see and do within the system? Consider the image shown here. This shows a simple way of thinking about the implementation of Sage CRM. Here, users are within the corporate network and they can access Sage CRM through their browsers. The web server and the actual Sage CRM application server are physically on the same machine, but I've imagined them here separately. And if you want to know more about the system architecture, there is a lesson available within the e-learning area on system architecture for more background information. Now, at this point, I want to consider application security, network security, and database security. The users in Sage CRM can be set up so they can experience Sage CRM in very different ways. Individual users will authenticate using their username and passwords, but because they belong to different teams or are assigned different security profiles, they will find they will have very different rights. These rights control access to functional areas of the system, such as marketing, or the ability to create and edit reports, or to send mass emails or export data. These settings control the user's ability to insert, edit, or update data, and a user can be denied access to any main entity within the system. For example, a user may not be allowed to see any cases, in which case the user interface would completely hide all reference to the case entity. And if a user cannot update a record, then the change button automatically will not appear. This level of control goes down to individual fields that a user may or may not access. Now, what I've just described there are all examples of in-application security. This type of security is about how the user is controlled while they're inside Sage CRM. But what about the usernames and passwords themselves? In Sage CRM, password policies can be set to ensure strong passwords of a minimum length, that are complex and that expire regularly and need to be changed, and where the user is only allowed a small number of failed attempts at logins before their account is locked. User security can also be integrated with NT, challenge and response. In Sage CRM, this is known as Iis Auto-Login. Users can be set up so that if they have logged on into their Windows machine, Sage CRM can take advantage of integrated Windows authentication to allow those users immediate access to CRM, provided their Windows logon is the same as their Sage CRM user ID. Access to the application server is one thing, but we also need to consider access to the database. Access to the application server, as I said, is one thing, but we have to think about this way in which database access is granted. Now, I've discussed in a previous lesson on system architecture how Sage CRM has a hybrid structure, has a hybrid architecture. The database has to be accessed through both ADO and JDBC. The connections are shared between the application and the database. In the case of SQL Server, then you will need to use SQL authentication to ensure that both the eWare DLL and the Tomcat-based side of the system can access the database in the same way. Now you can see this screen during the installation or upgrade process. Now you shouldn't actually use the database SA user in a live system. The database login used by Sage CRM needs to have the rights to add, delete or change data in every table, however, within the Sage CRM database. So you could use a different database user if you need to. Now going back into the diagram of the network, Sage CRM's interface can be extended using either the classic ASP API or using the .NET API. And new screens created for Sage CRM using the APIs inherit the security policies that control users in the main interface. If a user cannot do something in the main interface, then they will not be able to do it within the custom screens. The sessions for the customized areas all use the same database access as the rest of the interface. Now, external applications that access Sage CRM follow the same security rules for the user sessions that they use. If a user cannot insert a company record in the main interface, then that user ID, when used for SOAP web services, for example, will neither be able to insert into the company table. In addition, the ability for individual user IDs to be used for external logons or SOAP web services transactions can be limited. If a user logon is not explicitly enabled for the SOAP web services, then it's impossible to access CRM using that account. Now, Sage CRM can also be set up to use HTTP or secure sockets to ensure still greater security when passing data and user credentials. This is a very important consideration when accessing CRM using SOAP and SData, as these pass data in plain text and so should be encrypted. The documentation discusses this in more detail. It's likely that an implementation will require you to think about how users will access the system from beyond the corporate network. In these circumstances, Sage CRM's web server is likely to be placed within the organization's demilitarized zone, DMZ. This can either be implemented as a physical or logical subnetwork that exposes the web server to the internet. In addition, you may wish to further control access through the use of a VPN. If your users need to access Sage CRM either through the mobile optimized screens, tablets, iPhone or Android, or through the mobile apps, then these users can be set up as mobile firewall users so they can access the VPN and transmit and receive data securely. Access to Sage CRM through mobile devices can also be controlled through the administration screen. This means users can be selectively given permission to access Sage CRM through those devices. And other options for Sage CRM's installation include the use of terminal services and Citrix, and these are discussed within the system documentation. Now, this has only been a brief overview of system security within Sage CRM, and other lessons expand on the subjects mentioned here in more detail. There are separate lessons on creating security profiles, the use of the APIs, and creation of mobile screens, in addition to the installation of Sage CRM and system requirements.